Hello and victory. You are in tune to the Gospel Hour, and I am your host, Dr. Albert Lewis. And yes, you know what to do. 31 years I've been saying the same thing. And do I really need to say it? Yes, I think I best to say it. Call a friend, call a loved one, inform them that Gospel Hour is now on the air. I certainly want them to enjoy this program right along with you. And today is a very, very, very special day. And most of you who have been certainly watching this program for at least the 31 years, you know, I love history. I love speaking about it. I love talking about it. And I love presenting on this show persons who have made history, not just across the country, but I highlight the city that this show emanates from, where I live, and that's the city of Newark, the third oldest city in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, those who are viewing this program across the country, you need to understand and you need to know, and especially our young people, because that's why this particular show is aimed towards our young people. A lot of them live and die in the city and never know its history. And so it's my job as a custodian or whatever term you want to, a curator, if you so choose to use that term, to continue to keep this music and to continue to keep what we do in this city. We hear a lot of negative things about the city of Newark, but you know, the Bible says, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Yes, there much good that has come out of this city and much good that's yet still coming out of the city of Newark. I'm honored. I'm very honored, ladies and gentlemen, to have with me today the gentleman who has certainly made history, whose name is in the history books, whose name that we must always keep in the forefront when we talk about the struggle and talk about the individuals who have opened the door for so many of us in our communities. I'm honored today to have none other than the first black mayor of the city of Newark, the Honorable Kenneth Allen GIBSON. Mayor.
Thank you, Doc.
It is an honor for me, even though we bump into each other quite often at Shamley's restaurant.
That's right.
But it's my honor to certainly have you with me today, a part of the, you know, I can easily say that you have opened the door for what I do as far as gospel music. Now, of course, I've been in gospel music all my life as a kid, and my mother, who had the Fields gospel singers that used to sing in the late 30s, the early 40s, and they, along with the Drakert singers, the Warwick family, Dion's mom and aunts and all of them, all sang together, and the list goes on of great gospel personalities. So I've always been involved in gospel music, but there was a day that I believe that the Spirit spoke to me and gave me a charge to do something. And that was to kind of bring gospel music more to the forefront and to explain its history, especially in Newark. Now, we know gospel music, the title gospel music, and the father of that, Dr. Thomas A. Dorsey, and gospel music really originated from Chicago. But a lot of the people, black folks, should I say, left from the South with this music that didn't have a title, it just had a feeling. And they migrated here to the city of Newark, which was starting to open its doors to blacks. And during that time, it was yet prejudice. Newark was I never experienced it because, you know, we just talked about earlier, I lived in Kenny Place, which was off of Kenny Street. And the Beatties, Pearl and Alma and all of them lived right around the corner, and most of us were in that little migrant of an area. Most blacks were.
That little ghetto.
Little, but you know one thing about the little ghetto then?
You didn't know it was ghetto, though, right?
Well, no. You know why? Because we had civic pride, we had dignity about where we lived. We swept in front of our doors. We kept our homes clean. We didn't have what others had in the city of Newark, those that were white, who had much more, because where we were, the concentrated area we just had the knowledge of trying to make where we were better to live. And you'd be surprised at the Jews that came through and the other cultures that came through that little area to get to downtown Maine, downtown Newark, which we were right like at the threshold of downtown Kenny Place, Kenny Street. But I said that to say this. I came to you, I believe in 1981. You just became mayor, and I said to you, if memory serves me well, Mr. Mayor, I want to do something to bring Newark to the forefront. I really want to see if we can make Newark the gospel music capital of the state of Jersey to celebrate this music, because gospel music in New Jersey started in Newark. When I came to you, you looked at me and you said to me, that's a good idea. I'll help you with that. You told me exactly what to do. You said, I'll do a proclamation here, but I want you to go to Trenton and talk to Governor, wasn't Florio, oh God, Camille. If you can, I'm calling Camille the mayor's wife, because she started as his personal secretary 1979. Who was the governor at that time?
It was either Byrne or Tom King.
Burns, Governor Burns. Governor Burns. And you made an appointment for me to go down to Trenton to see Governor Burns and to present this idea to him. And I did. And he said, what I'll do is designate a day in the state. You, Mr. Mayor, you designated a week, June 14th to the 21st of every year was celebrated in the city of Newark as Gospel Music Day. And the governor designated June 14th as Gospel Music. Well, you did the week. He did Gospel Music Day in the state of New Jersey. And from that, we continue to do it. And Mr. Mayor, today, through Jim McGreevey, the past governor, who brought us all down to Drum Racket and did a great big program and had gospel singers from all over the state to come. And then he presented me with this wonderful plaque, and he said, from this day forward, it will be Gospel Music Month, which is June, in the state of New Jersey, the only state that recognized gospel music. I thank you. I thank you. I want to shake your hand. I thank you. You have done something most wonderful and marvelous, and a lot of the young gospel singers that are coming along have no idea how this whole thing started. They just think I just threw it together, but they didn't know that there was a man behind me who gave me the initiative and the encouragement to make this happen. And the World Gospel Musical Association, the association that supported you when you ran for mayor the first time, which is now celebrating 46 years this year. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. I got to shake your hand again. Thank you. And I don't want to. I want to hear from you, but let me just show. And Raymond, if we can kind of, ladies and gentlemen, and sometimes it's a shame that we have to always prove everything. I think some of our people are from Missouri. That show me state. You know what I'm saying, Camille? That show me state. Well, oh, Raymond, I'm over here. He's got me on that camera. All right, Mike, can you switch me to camera 3? The camera that, all right, come on over again. Raymond, you're gonna have to, you're on the mayor. All right, come back to camera 3 again, Mike. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pray for Mike Matthews. Sometimes he wakes up in the morning, he knows where he is, and other times he wake up, he have no clue to where. Mike, camera 3. There you go. Thank you, Mike. A good, strong cup of coffee will do it, Mike, every time. Ladies and gentlemen, this was in 1982 when the mayor first made it possible for Gospel Music Day to be established in the city of Newark. And we're going to keep that camera right there. I'm going to. Okay, let's go back to camera 3 again. Okay. And this, the first celebration, was held in City Hall, downstairs in the basement of City Hall. And the gentleman who is presenting me the official plaque is none other than Jennifer Smith. Mr. Mayor, he served as your
Chief of Staff.
Chief of Staff at that time. And we also have, as our special guest, Sissy Houston, who came and who performed for us. My cousin, Savion Glover, he was just a young lad, probably no more than 10 years old, who came and tap danced for us. It was a marvelous, marvelous kickoff. Again, we want to salute our mayor who made it all possible. Mr. Mayor, share with us where you were born, and what schools you attended in the city of Newark.
Yeah, I was born in Enterprise, Alabama.
Enterprise, Alabama.
Small town in southeast Alabama. Has a historical distinction, too.
Really?
It's the only city in America that has a monument built to a pest.
To a pest?
Pest was the boll weevil.
You're kidding?
Yes. Yes. Enterprise, Alabama has 2 distinctions.
2 distinctions.
The boll weevil monument and Ken Gibson.
Well, the boll weevil may be a pest, but I'm sure Ken Gibson is a monument. And you migrated to Newark when?
1940.
1940.
A little before your time died.
Yeah. Well, I came along at 46, I was in that 10-year range. And where did you settle in Newark when you got here?
On Monmouth Street.
Monmouth Street.
At the Monmouth Street School.
Yeah. And there is no more Monmouth Street.
No more Monmouth.
I think
a little piece of it, right at the end, at Hayes Circle. There's about a half a block of Monmouth Street left.
Yes.
I lived in Monmouth Street.
Is that where Louise Spencer School is on that?
Right up the street.
Right up the street.
Yeah. And went to school there. Went to Central High School. And went next door to Newark College of Engineering, which is now NJIT.
NJIT. It's safe to say that you earned a degree from NJIT and you became, should we say, the first or one of the first blacks to ever obtain a degree and graduate from NJIT.
Oh, yeah.
And what year was that, Mr. Mayor?
1962.
1962.
I spent so much time at school, I thought they should put my name on the cornerstone. I went to day school for a while, and I went to night school, and then I graduated after going into the service.
Now, when you were attending NJIT, and we know back in that period of time, of course, it was still some remnants of prejudiceness that was going on. Did you experience it in school and any time, especially in the university there?
No, not at the university, because they were training engineers. Engineers don't have too much time to be prejudiced. They spend time trying to figure out the math, math and science.
Yeah, and I know the math is
you don't have much time to be prejudiced. But it existed.
It did exist.
There was places in the city of Newark that did not welcome blacks as customers.
Yes, and
there were movie theaters where you had to sit upstairs. A couple of restaurants wouldn't even let you in. So,
and I knew that there were some department stores that were also
the department stores they would take your money, but they didn't want you to work there. And if you did work there, you had to have a degree.
Really?
To run the elevator.
A degree to
run? They were.
Yeah.
Prejudice was existing. They had a club in the old Bamberger's department store that did not allow blacks to be customers or members.
And Haynes, I heard that Haynes was the same way.
Well, Haynes wasn't as bad as the downtown club, which was in Bamberger's. Child's Restaurant, right on the corner from the Loews Theater, wouldn't even let you in the door.
Really?
So, you tell young people that today, they say, "Well, that's the olden days."
Well,
olden days lasted a long time.
It did. It did. And, you know, Mayor, the tragedy of this whole thing is that it's two parts. They have not been told and explained to what really occurred, and if it was explained to them, it seemed like they have no appreciation of the people who came before them and made it possible. What was your motivating factor that made you decide to actually run for mayor? Because at that time, Adonisio, now, and I remember Adonisio, and coming along, I remember Adonisio because he was appeared to be very gracious to black folks. I know he had a great love for my aunt, Madam Anna Lundy Lewis, and you did too, because you always loved her ability of a musician and her musicianship. But what was the motivating factor that made you say, you know what, I want to do this?
It was a time and the place, Doc. Life presents certain opportunities as we grow. And if you're sometimes in the right place in the right time, you have to take advantage of that opportunity. I got invited to a political meeting and sat at the back of the room and watched all the politicians argue with each other. And since they got to a point where they didn't trust each other, and I was a new guy and new kid in the block, so to speak, I became the treasurer of the organization. Primarily because they didn't trust each other. So I ended up just being in an organization. And then you find out that you had to do the work, just like you. Some people work and some people talk. So I ended up doing the work. And sometimes when you work hard and set an example, you can achieve certain things.
True.
So I got involved in the civil rights movement, which was fighting for better education and better job opportunities to get rid of some of that prejudice that existed in the jobs downtown. So we formed an organization called the Business and Industrial Coordinating Council.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the spearhead behind that was George Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
George became the chairman, or co-chairman. And once he moved on, I became the co-chairman.
Mm-hmm.
And once you work hard, you get recognized.
But let me interject this. So the nature of this organization was to do?
To find jobs,
Mm-hmm.
job opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
and improve the quality of education.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a combined organization of civil rights leaders and business leaders. And I was the co-chairman after George Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
And the other co-chairman was the vice president of Bamberger's department store.
Of Bamberger's department store.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now,
Most people don't realize that the VA hospital in East Orange is on the old Bamberger estate.
really?
That was the Bamberger's home estate.
Mm-hmm.
They granted it to the federal government to build a VA hospital.
Oh, what a piece of history that
There's a lot of history there.
Yes, yes. Well, when as the whites call it, a riot, the educators, the black educators, they call it rebellion. When that occurred, and of course, one of the leading persons in the forefront, a man I've always admired. I mean, even though he went through several phases in his life and might not have agreed with his politics or certain things, but I certainly respect him because he and many others fought that black people would have the opportunity, as you indicated, would have the opportunity to have better education and better jobs. And at that time, Leroy Jones, which is better known as Amir Baraka, the late Amir Baraka, how did he or you interacted? How did that come about?
Well, we were all involved in trying to improve the quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a kind of spiritual leader of the group that formed the Black and Puerto Rican Convention, which took place at Clinton Place Junior High School.
And a name that you nowadays you won't know that's what it is, because I think they call it Science High, or
I don't know what.
yeah,
I can't keep up with the changes.
because it's forever changing. Yeah.
We had the convention there where we were to choose candidates for public office. I became the candidate for mayor, and we had a slate of people running for city council seats.
Do you remember some of those council individuals?
Oh, yeah. Ramona Ñeses, Puerto Rican. Ted Pinkney. We had Donald Tucker.
Yes, yes.
We had Earl Harris.
Oh, yes.
We had every one of the guys that ended up being in public office were a part of that convention. Sharp James.
Yes.
All of them were part of that convention. And coming out of that, we formed what was called the Committee for a Unified Newark. And Baraka was the spiritual leader of the group. And we went around, we had the biggest fight, frankly, within the community, the black community.
Really?
Because many of them didn't believe that we had a chance to win. And we had to convince not only the people who were outside our community, but the ones inside our community.
Well, at that time, let me ask a question. When you say in the community, the blacks,
Right.
were they the minority at that time in Newark?
About 50-50.
About 50-50. Okay.
But they still didn't believe that they could win. You have to convince sometimes the people that you're trying to help the most that it's possible. You heard that song, all things are possible.
All things are possible, yes.
So we had to convince them first. Nobody really believed it until we won.
Yes, yes.
And you'd be surprised at the number of people who took credit for victory.
They would, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't in the struggle, but when the struggle was over and you emerged,
Yeah.
now everyone wants the credit.
Yeah, they had 2 sets of labels. A pen for the other guy on one side of the lapel, and a pen for you on the other.
I remember when you came to Macedonia Baptist, no, not Baptist Church, Macedonia Church of Christ. That's on Broadway in Newark, in the north area of Newark. Dr. Harry Spellman
Yeah.
was pastor. We were in the early years of having our World Gospel Musical Association convention. And someone came to me, the place was packed, jammed, and someone came up to me and said, Kenneth Allen Gibson is here. He's running for mayor, and he would like to come in. Now, I know I hadn't given an invitation to you or anything, but I said, okay, let me come in. And you came in, and what was so amazing was these young ladies that came in, and they had on the straw hats. And, yes.
The Gibson girls.
The Gibson girls, that's right. They had on the straw hats, and they came in before you, and they was just cheering, and and it was you changed the atmosphere, which was a spiritual atmosphere, to a political atmosphere. But believe it or not, the people had no problems with it, because that was, I guess, to see a black man running for mayor in this town, which is the hope and the dreams of everyone. I'm looking around. I'm in the pulpit. I'm looking around, and the people in the audience was following the young ladies, the Gibson girls, and they were yay, yay, yeah, yeah. And I allowed you to come up, and I gave you a platform. And right then, I said, this is it. This is it. And I looked at you, and I said, we're going to pray for you. We're going to get every church to get behind you and make this possible. Because I know the churches were a little slow. You know how everyone don't move at the same rate of speed. But our churches are slow. And so I wanted to do this for you because I really believed in you. And you have not failed any of us. And that's why we hold you in high esteem today as the architecture of all of this. Sharp has followed behind you, and then Corey has come in, and then whoever's next, and we're looking for another young man who's going to take the reign, and hopefully he'll fulfill and complete the dream. Because what do you see? What do you see, Mr. Mayor, in our city now that could be enhanced for the betterment of all people?
Well, the most important thing, Doc, is education.
Yes.
It's very hard to achieve anything if you can't read.
Yes.
We have people who graduate from high school, which is, in my opinion, criminal, that they can't read. They can't perform. It's hard to recommend someone for a good job if they're not prepared. How would you like to have a doctor operating on you who can't read? So I still believe that quality education is what it's all about.
So when you became mayor and you saw the need, you were responsible of asking Charlie Bell. Did you appoint Charlie Bell as the president of the
Board of Education?
Right. And
in those days, the mayor appointed the members of the board.
It was the mayor's privilege to do that.
Then they changed it and made it an elected board. So you made it political rather than quality.
How much money did we govern at the time when you were mayor to make sure that the schools got? Because back in the time when I was going to school, we had recreations and we had we had art. I took up woodwork, wood shop, and those kind of things that the schools no longer have now.
Well, it was different though, because the funding of education is not all city money, as you know. It's state money and city money, and the state puts in a great deal of money to public education. So you have people who don't believe in public education now deciding what happens in Newark. They really want to turn it into a private fiefdom. They want to make charter schools instead of public schools. They want to choose consultants rather than good teachers. So when I came to Newark in 1940, it was one of the best public school systems in the country.
I heard
Nobody graduated from school in Newark without knowing how to read. In my day. Nowadays, it's different. So we have to go back to the basics. And I don't believe it's hard. It's a question of dedication.
Dedication. So, with the state takeover, how do you feel about the state takeover?
I don't believe the state should take over public school. What happened in Newark is that they took it over and they've made it now what they call consultant haven.
Consultant haven?
Yes. If you go to these public school meetings now and look at the license plates, they're from out of state.
Absolutely.
From New York.
Absolutely.
The people who run the school system are not residents of the city of Newark. People who make decisions for our children are not affected by the decisions that they make for their children. They come in and make decisions for our children and send their children to private school. I still say we can go back to the basics.
And do you believe that's possible?
Sure it is.
Well, what would be
Good things are not hard to do.
Well, what would be the mechanism to make that to put that in place?
Get the right people in office.
Okay.
And make that a decision that you follow. Return to the basics.
Return to the basics.
Have our children graduate from high school with the ability to put a sentence together.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you, as mayor, in your first term, your first 4 years, what challenges did you really face that you needed to try to actually change, to break the mold and change the future for, especially for the blacks that were, because that's why the rebellion came and the revolution came, because blacks were being pressed, maybe not like they were in the South, but more of a sophisticated kind of depression. What did you felt that needed to happen under your administration to make a change?
Well, it's not just my administration, it's your commitment to the right things. Let me give you some examples. When I took office, Newark had the highest rate of infant mortality in the country. Young children dying before the age of 5. The highest maternal mortality rate, their mothers dying too early. The highest venereal disease rate.
Yes.
The highest tuberculosis rate. So one of the first things we did was to form an agreement between the major health providers, the hospitals, and the city, to get funding for neighborhood health centers, so that young women could get prenatal care, pregnant women could get natal care, and their children could get medical care. We changed all those statistics within 5 years. But the problem with politics is you only get 4-year terms.
Yeah.
So most people don't like to take on jobs that require more than 4 years of effort. It's human nature,
Yes.
self-preservation,
Self-preservation.
protect your own office. I spent time trying to improve the quality of life,
You did.
and that takes more than 4 years.
Yes.
And it works. If you're committed to the improvement of quality, it takes time and effort.
Yes.
If you get the right people, you can do it.
Let's talk about a time that occurred in your administration when Anthony Imperiali had a disagreement with you and came, and I remember it very vividly, came to your door and tried to kick your door in. What was that really about?
It was about who was going to be the captain of the North District Police Station.
Okay.
They wanted a person that they wanted to choose. They wanted to run the police department in their community, and I was not going to permit it. So that's what it was all about. Being mayor gives you certain authority.
Yes.
I didn't surrender any of my authority because people raised hell.
Yeah, true.
So
Very true.
you could take care of those things.
Very true. And you have to forgive me. I thought I put that on silent, and that might have been God calling, and I don't mean to put God on hold if he was calling by way of cellular phone. I'm sure he understands that I'm talking to Mayor Kenneth A. Gibson, first black mayor of the city of Newark, and of course it's just an honor and a thrill for me because, ladies and gentlemen, I've said this to the mayor that again, and I'll say it again to you, our young people don't know the history. They just don't know the history of this city. And, you know, I think if Martin Luther King was yet alive, he would be very disappointed. Very disappointing to know that all that he has sacrificed and gone through to make sure that we, and education is what your strong point has been during this conversation, education. And Martin Luther King certainly was one who was an example of an educated black man, an sophisticated black man who was able to articulate and be able to convey his thoughts and get his thoughts through. But I think that he would be disappointed that our young people, and I believe more so he would be disappointed of the elders who are not teaching these young people.
Well, you can't blame the young people for not knowing something they were not taught.
Well, ignorance is trainable.
That's right. You got to teach people, and if you teach them, then they learn. It doesn't mean they can always use that education as effectively as you would want, but at least they have it. And once they have it, you don't lose it. But if you never get it, it's not their fault.
So would you say it would be the fault of the elders?
Yeah, the older people, teachers, and I'm not pointing at teachers now, I'm talking about their parents.
Their parents.
Who was the best learning takes place at home.
Absolutely.
And at church.
Absolutely.
You know, our churches are not what they were in my day.
I was going to say pastor. I was going to call you pastor. But Mayor, I really totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Because the pastors of old, because they knew of the struggles or they learned of the struggles, they were very adamant about teaching.
They were leaders in the struggle.
They were leaders in the struggle. Absolutely.
The civil rights movement grew up at the church, developed at church, and was continued at the church. Church was our social and educational base.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's about the only thing that we had control of.
Well, that's true. Now it seems like church has become a social center or entertainment center.
Entertainment.
Yes. Yeah. Come in and get a quick thrill and leave out almost the same way you came in, with no intentions to try to help mankind or to try to serve us as God has required us. He that is great among you, let him be servants. Look like the servants want to be served. But a real servant wants to empower the disciples to go out and to serve its community. And so, I know personally that you've always been a leader at the time, because many times when I had various programs or there were various religious functions, you were present. You were there. Were you drawing from that strength?
Well, I learned early in life to try to learn something every day. There's certain principles, human nature principles. If you learn something every day, then you can get ahead. 365 days in a year, 365 new things. So, and if you learn, you can't learn anything sitting on the corner doing nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nothing. What advice would you give the next mayor, whoever that might be? And certainly I have my pick, but we won't mention that at this moment. But what advice would you give the next mayor to be aware of, and what he or she needs to do to actually service its community as a leader? Because one of the things I want to say, we ought not to look to go to Hollywood. We need to stay. We need to stay right where we are and get this thing in control.
It should be about service. And if you're committed to improving the quality of life, you don't have to get too much advice. Just work at it. It's not hard. I still say all the things that are possible are not necessarily difficult. You have to have the commitment. If you're committing to trying to improve the quality of education, it can be done. If you're committed to trying to improve the quality of health care, it can be done. One of the reasons that we have the biggest fight in this country now, because people don't want to get away from the dollar as the reason for doing something. They don't want to get to the children who have conditions that need health care treatment. We live in the richest country in the world.
Yes.
There's no reason why we have to worry about whether or not a person can go to a doctor or to a clinic and get medical care. This is not the backwoods. This is America. So we should have our people be able to get quality medical care without having to figure out whether or not they can eat.
Well, what is the real struggle with that, and the struggling that they're giving our president?
It's all about money, Doc. It's all about money. If we spend more time worrying about how much money we make, then we're not going to improve the quality of health care. But if we are committed to improving the quality of health care, and it can be done. We have medicines being developed because of how much they can get money for. Not about how effective the medicine is.
Isn't that something? Just how much you can get.
That's right.
Yeah.
People go to school, not how much good they can do, but how much money they can make. It's the wrong reason to go to school.
Yes.
You should go to school because you believe in something.
Yes.
If you believe in nothing, then you can achieve nothing.
Mr. Mayor, let me show a couple more pictures. You presented me this, so amazing. You presented me this, and I still have this today. This was a Outstanding Citizens Award coming from you to me, and ladies and gentlemen, is that good, Raymond? Okay. Yes, I was, Camille was teasing me. She was saying that she remembered when I was that thin. Okay.
Children.
Is that a good shot, Ray? She remembered when I was that thin. I remember when I was that thin too. And I wish I had the opportunity to be that thin. Well, no, I don't think I want to be that thin again. Oh, no, because then, you know, Mayor, people will start talking about me. They will start saying, "You all right? You've been fasting more than 40 days?" And then last but not least, I want to show this. The late Earl Harris, the late Councilman Earl Harris, former Mayor Sharp James. Sharp served as councilman of the South Ward. Earl was councilman
At large.
and he was president of the
Yes.
Londoners. Was he the first black?
I don't know.
If he could have, I believe he was the first black to serve as councilman.
No.
President of
President.
the municipal
Right.
council. Correct. Mayor, let's talk about Irvin Turner.
Irving R. Turner.
Yes.
My next door
Named
neighbor.
a street,
Yeah.
a whole street, and called it a boulevard. And I know you and Irvin was good friends.
Yeah, he was before my time, but he and I were next door neighbors.
Next door neighbors.
Very interesting man.
Now, he was the first black councilman.
Right, he was a pioneer.
He was a pioneer.
Right.
Now, Calvin West came in
After.
after him.
Right.
Okay. Well, you know what we need to do, and not you, but maybe Camille and I and some other folks need to get together. We need to have a Kenneth A. Gibson Boulevard too, because
No.
because you made this all possible, Mr. Mayor. Irvin Turner, Calvin West, and the list goes on. I don't think these guys, if it was yet still under a white administration, these guys would not have had this opportunity. You opened the door for so many, and there are still some today who have gone on to in government, state government, who are still yet working, who came out from your administration.
The key thing, though, Doc, is you don't look for accolades.
Okay.
You look for success.
You look for the results from.
That's right. Success is not based on getting your name in the paper or getting your name on the side of a building or on a street.
Mm-hmm.
The success is when someone walks up to you in a store, in a restaurant, they say, "You don't know me, but if it weren't for you, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have done that." That's success, where you have helped somebody. And if you can spend your life helping somebody, that's the best thing that anyone can do. I don't know my in the paper.
Beg pardon?
I don't need my name in the paper.
Okay. We say these days you gotta be so careful.
That's right.
Because they find all kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Mayor, I want to ask you before we conclude this, what is Kenneth Allen Gibson doing these days?
I'm doing what we're doing today. I'm available for people to talk to gain from my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about life, Doc, we all have a story.
Mm-hmm.
All of us.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't want to talk to the little guy on the corner.
Yes.
That little guy on the corner could teach you something too.
I agree.
And
I agree.
we can learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever my 81 years can translate into experience for other people, I'm willing to do.
Is there a book in the works?
Not by me.
Not by you?
We got a couple of people writing about me.
They're writing about you.
Right.
Okay.
I spend my time trying to talk to people. Available for advice. I talk to young people at school, whether they a 5-year-old or a 55-year-old, college or elementary school or preschool. You could learn something from everybody.
Yes. Well, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. It was something that was long coming, and I looked forward to your being here, and I know we had set a date up before, and then things had happened, the weather was bad and things had happened, but you pressed your way to be here. Mr. Mayor, I will always honor you and always keep you in the forefront of what you've done for, especially for the gospel music community. Just the other day, this is February the 4th, 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, the McDonald's Super Choir, under the direction of Curtis Farrell, we won the world's record of the largest choir in the world, the largest choir, and we assembled down at Symphony Hall, and I had the opportunity to address the audience that was comprised of a choir and welcome them to the gospel music capital. Those who came from Philadelphia, who came from Connecticut, from New York City, that came. I had the opportunity to welcome them to the gospel music capital of the city, or of the state of New Jersey. It was my delight to even introduce Ras Baraka, who represented the city at that time as our politician. But I want to thank you, because again, it would not have been. I might not even been sitting here.
Well, Doc, you're part of history too. Your family is a part of history.
Yes, yes.
And I enjoyed all of the talent that came out of your family.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, listen, I don't believe this is going to be the last time. And you know who watches this program religiously? Elton Hill.
Well,
And Elton was your
magistrate school.
business administrator.
Right.
Yes, Elton. Elton, your friend. Okay. Well, I've been your host, Dr. Albert Lewis, and listen, it has certainly been my treat to have Mayor Kenneth A. Gibson a part of this great program. And I want to commend Camille, who have stood by his side. Camille, God bless you, girl. You are a true warrior. Thank you, my friends. Until next time.